So yeah, I'm going to record this so that if y'all want to watch it again, you can, but also we have a lot of people who aren't able to make it this morning, but that watch it later. So that's the nice thing about Zoom is someone can get the information afterwards. But good morning, everyone. Glad everyone's here. So before we jump into a conversation with Kristen, I wanted to just hit a few things real quick. First, I just sent an email out yesterday about, and you can find it on the Facebook page. There's a link there as well. I Have a Dream Festival is coming back this year. They actually had some big plans for it, which have been scaled back just in light of recent developments with the Delta variant. So they had a parade and things like that were going to happen. But Rick has been working really hard to get the event going. And so that's still going to happen. It's going to be in the fields behind MLK where Unity Park will be. So it'll be outdoors. Right now, weather's looking like it'll be good. It'll be 10 to 3 next Saturday, the 28th, which is also, in case you think you'll forget the date, it's the 58th anniversary of MLK's I Have a Dream speech. So you can just Google that and you can get the date. But yeah, it sounds like it's going to be just a really nice casual event, 10 to 3. They'll have some free food from the market at 25th, but they'll also have a food truck there that serves like breakfast all day items and different vendors, different entities that are there. But really the thing, two big things. One, Rick's been working really hard on this for a number of years, and some things have happened in the last year that have actually taken it from here to here. So there's a lot that's about to really move forward with that space becoming a really just great resource to our community. And so one, I would love for y'all to hear more about what those developments are and actually see some of them, which is they've been planting some gardens back there. So if you haven't been back there in a while, it looks very different in some of the spaces. So that's one reason, just to find out some of the things that are just around the corner that we'll have access to. And the second thing is it's just a great way for us as New Visions to support not just Rick, but this park could be a resource for the whole community. And for us to be able to get behind that, not just helps them, but it's just a really good thing for us to do. So encourage y'all to check it out, spread the word. 10 to 3 next Saturday behind MLK. And I had a few other announcements in the email, nothing huge. Frida is hoping to join at the end of this call, and she'll share more about the special use permit that she's putting in for. So if you had any questions about that, hopefully at the end, we'll have an opportunity to hear from her. And trying to think if there was any other big things. I think that's it. Anything from you all that you wanted to just mention or touch on real quick before we jump in? It's quite the day. I don't know. We could
hang your phone up.
Huh?
So
Hang your phone up.
if you what is it? Because she needs the phone to be able to hear us, because she can't hear us from her computer.
Yeah, you just need to mute the computer and unmute the phone and only use the phone.
Yeah, and if you call
Can you
in,
hear me now?
I can hear
Yeah,
you,
that's
but can you
better.
hear us? So call in again. I'll mute your computer. Like, she can't hear me. Why am I saying it? I'm gonna type it. Call in again. I'll mute your computer. That way we'll just use her. Wait a minute. Now
I have it.
you good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You had something?
I want to say, I work at the market, and I've been serving there, but I have an advancement. And so I will be coming to New Vision Civic League to share with you my new position. And we're trying to get
Oh, you muted yourself, Miss T.
If you hit the space bar, that mutes you.
how's that?
There you go. You're back.
Don't touch the computer.
I'm not. I don't have no problem like this except sometime on Sunday, and I know that ain't nobody but Satan trying to get in the way. Well, anyway, like I said, I will be coming to New Vision and sharing more information about my new position. And it's more or less like a PR director.
Oh, wow.
And I'll be getting out in the community to share about the market and the benefits and the advantages of being a good supporter of the market. And so I'm certainly hoping that my Civic League New Vision will advance to that stage of being a good member. And I'll be bringing information to you all later to tell y'all about the program, because there is an incentive program that every time the members of New Vision shop at the market, there is, I don't like the word kickback, but there are some advantages of us receiving some funds from the market, okay? And we can do that.
Yeah,
Because
that's good.
we need some funds in our budget. I don't even know how much we have in our budget.
Yeah.
But we need some funds, okay? I haven't met Kristen Johnson. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to see you back in town. You're in town for a little while. What is
Definitely
son?
sunny.
He's muted. Yeah. Son is muted. All right then. Well, good morning, Kristen. And good morning to the rest of you. I'm gonna keep quiet now.
Yeah, just reach out and we'll get you some time in an upcoming meeting to
Okay.
share.
All righty.
And just seeing Sunny, one other thing I'll mention is in a recent email, I put the email or the web address for a page that Sunny made for Carrington Street. And so over the last few months, there's been some more developments. Sunny, I don't know if you wanted to say something real quick about that, or you don't have to, but.
Yeah, in regards to the 2200, 2202 properties, we sent a letter back at New Visions, I think it was about 2 months ago, and basically expressed our desire for what we'd like that property to be. And the developer, Brian Trailer, did come back to us and made several changes, which were really nice to see. He added balconies to 21st Street and removed the balconies on Carrington. He also increased the size of his garbage and recycling receptacles. And he's also committed to adding more trees on the street line. The last bullet point that we said to him was about the parking. And right now he's looking for a waiver on the parking under the current rules. I think he has to provide 9 parking spots on site, and he has 3 or 4. And we said we'd like to see, our response to that back 2 months ago was, well, if the street is converted to a one-way, then the amount of street parking that he has that's on the surface of his corner there, it would support all of the parking that his building needs. But with the street being two-way right now, if he was using all of the street parking, it would be very congested, and we wouldn't be able to get cars through there with 2 lanes. So I know that he's working with the city right now on potentially getting the street converted to a one-way, but this is up in the air. So that's what I have right now.
Yeah,
it was good that he listened to us, and he's still working on it. So it's nice to see from him.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny. And Sunny's been putting a lot of work in around that, and he's been doing a lot with Carrington. So we'll keep you all updated. We've also been connecting with Cynthia Newbill. And so we've learned some things recently. And so as we learn more, we'll send some things out about hopefully some work coming up on Carrington. But I want to transition us because we've got a guest and Kristen has a limited amount of time. So I want to make sure to honor that. But our last meeting, we started a conversation on affordable housing, which has been a topic that's been important to Better Housing Coalition, and not Better Housing Coalition, to New Visions for a long time. And it started in partnership with Better Housing Coalition, 25 plus years ago. Ms. T and others connected with them because they saw that, 85% of their block was blight. And so affordable housing has always been a heart issue for at the heart of what New Visions does. But what that conversation has looked like has changed over the years. And so last time we talked with Urban Hope and learned about how they hit this gap of there's, the like affordable level where it's affordable relative to higher price things. Then there is on this other, on the other end of the spectrum, government provided housing. And then you have this middle gap that often isn't touched, that even entities like Better Housing Coalition, there's a low level and a high level that they hit, but there's this gap. And Urban Hope actually steps into that gap to provide housing opportunities for income levels that normally you make too much to receive government assistance, you make too little to be able to afford a home. And so we had a really great conversation there, learning more about what they're doing. They just recently had an article, I think it was in the Richmond Times. And so I'm excited to have Kristen in for two reasons. One, I've been wanting to have Real Life come to a New Visions meeting for a bit because what they're doing for our community, like they just have a location now over on 25th Street, their offices, and what they're doing is really important for many of our neighbors. But the other thing is affordable housing is something that's been on their heart as well. But the way that they have to address it and think about it is a way in which many people don't often bother to think about it. So Kristen, thank you for coming. I'm excited that you're here. Thank you for making time. Just to start off, share who you are and what Real Life is and why we here in the Fairmont community should know about you.
Absolutely. So as Paul said, my name is Kristen Johnson, and I am the Director of Development and Community Engagement for Real Life. And actually, I am a Churchill resident. I live over near Chimborazo Elementary. So you'll see if you're on the Buy Nothing group in particular for the East End Churchill, often I'm posting about Real Life in there. Neighbors helped furnish really a couple of our recovery houses, which has been awesome. So Real Life, basically, we started in the Richmond City Jail. Dr. Sarah Scarborough, who is our director and founder, she was the director of programs and had a program called REAL, which stands for Recovery from Everyday Addictive Lifestyles. And it was very successful under Sheriff Woody. But what kept happening is when people would leave the jail, they'd leave with all the tools they needed. They'd be excited. They'd be ready to stay out of jail, to get clean or to stay clean. But then little everyday things would trip them up. And she would get phone calls. How do I get a bus ticket? How do I get a job? Where do I get clothes? Where do I get the support structure I need to really make that sobriety stick? So in 2017, she founded Real Life, and we are in the community, and we serve individuals that are dealing with homelessness, substance use disorder, or coming out of incarceration, or quite often all three go hand in hand. A lot of times our folks are coming out of jail related to substance use disorder convictions and have no place to go. We had one gentleman who he's now one of our house managers, and he served 24 and a half years. And when he asked Department of Corrections, he even sent a letter to the Secretary of Public Safety for the state and said, okay, I've been here 24 years. I have nowhere to go. What do I do? And their solution was, we'll give you a tent and a sleeping bag.
Hmm.
That's not acceptable. I mean, the fact that we're failing to provide the services and supports they need. So that's where Real Life comes in. We work with folks coming out of long-term incarceration, so through Department of Corrections. We work with folks coming through the court system out of one of the local jails, so it may be a misdemeanor charge. We work with folks on probation. We work with folks in pretrial, so it may be a condition of their bond, alternative to incarceration. With someone with long-term substance use issues, a lot of times incarceration is not the right fix and not the right solution. Perhaps coming to our program and learning the tools to live a sober life is a better solution. We also have voluntary folks that walk in off the street and say, hey, I need help. So our program, it's holistic. We're really a one-stop shop except for medical needs and mental health counseling, like psychiatrists, that sort of thing. And we have community partners, Crossover Ministry Healthcare, if you're familiar with them. They work with all of our lifers. They're amazing. They get them in same day a lot of times. And then a few other local organizations that provide psychiatric support. But we provide housing, we provide workforce, job, training, support, really helping them get a job and keep a job. We provide programming still in the jails. We're not in Richmond City under Sheriff Irvin currently, but we are in Henrico, Chesterfield, Virginia Peninsula Regional Jail, and I'm going to miss probably 2 more. We're in about 5 right now. Because of COVID, we had to transition to just virtual. So we wrote up the curriculum and still do regular Zoom sessions, but we're now finally back in there. And then what Paul mentioned, we have our community center that's on 25th Street. If you're familiar with where Planned Parenthood is, so just down the street from the market, we're right across the street. What we provide there is walk-in services. So folks that, aren't quite sure, not quite sure what they need, they can show up. Currently, we have limited hours just because of COVID. We're still being mindful of that. But walk in and you meet with one of our peer recovery coaches. One of our coaches actually has been through our program and is a graduate. The other is a long-term community member who served 25 years for armed robbery and has now been sober for 29 years. So he's a great inspiration. So it's folks with the lived experiences necessary to help our clientele. We refer to our clients as lifers. You may have heard me mention that earlier, because once someone is with us, they're with us for life, and we help in all aspects of their life. So I touched on a little bit our recovery housing. One of the things we found once we were out in the community, okay, it's great. We're providing bus tickets. We're helping people get interviews, that kind of thing, cell phones, basic support, but they had no place to go. It is very difficult when you come out of jail with nothing, and you need that structured living, especially if you're dealing with substance use disorders. There are plenty of treatment houses, sobriety houses in Richmond, but they're not affordable. One local organization charges $10,000 just as the move-in fee, and that's on top of thousands upon thousands of dollars a month. And that's great. People need that, and there's a market for that, and that's wonderful. But the folks we serve, they can't afford that. So what we have, we now have 10 houses across the city of Richmond. It's not essentially that we have to be in the city. It's just that's where we found houses that are on the bus line. But we have 10 of them. So total, we house right about 100 people. And I'll say, just over a year ago, we only had 3. COVID, there was an explosion of folks that needed housing, and especially folks being released from jail on bond, you name it. So 10 houses, and through those houses, when they move in free of charge. We basically welcome them open arms, do everything we can. The first 2 weeks we call their stabilization period. And during that period, they are solely focused on themselves and their recovery. Because even if they don't necessarily have a substance use issue, there's some, that's why I say the addictive lifestyles. There's typically something there, probably related to adverse childhood experiences, things they dealt with in their childhood that has led them to where they were incarcerated. So really, we want to focus on them and allow them to focus on their recovery. They're attending we have classes by Zoom and in person. So they're in about 30 to 35 hours of classes a week. They're also working through our workbook, which is a curriculum Dr. Scarborough wrote. So really, it's a time to focus on them. We have great donors that help stock the kitchen so that they have food, welcome kits, so they really feel welcomed. Then after that 2 weeks is up, they start working with our quick start to employment manager, Sydney, who will talk with them, see what their previous work history might be, if they've had one, what do they enjoy doing, because really we want to find them a job where they can grow within that company. We don't want them bouncing around from job to job. We want something that's stable for them, and also where they're earning a good salary. We don't place anyone at less than $12 an hour, and really we shoot for closer to 15. Once they are bringing home a paycheck, they start paying a weekly program fee of $150. And what that does is basically sustains the rental and the utilities for the house. All the program, all the other programming and the staff and all that, that's where I come in with fundraising. We don't get any money from the city or any other local governments. We are an reentry house through Department of Behavioral Health for the state. So they provide a little bit of funding, but mostly it's through my work that sustains the programming side. So they pay that weekly programming fee. We find it very helpful because it allows them to have some skin in the game, and make them allow for that feeling of connection, like they are supporting themselves, but also gets them used to paying bills, because the reality is they're not always going to be able to live someplace for free, unfortunately. Those bills will come, but it's low enough that they can start paying down. If they have back child support, we help them work out a plan on that, and also help start saving for when they eventually move out. Most of our lifers, I'd say, stay with an average of 6 months. Depends on how long they may have been incarcerated. Someone who was we had one gentleman come to us who was in jail for 47 years, incarcerated for 47 years on a robbery charge. He's going to be with us a lot longer. He'll probably be with us for a year or two. One of our houses is a graduate house specifically designed for folks who have completed the program but aren't quite ready to move out on their own. So we continue to provide that support and structure. And then even once they're ready to move out, we work with them. We have great relationships with a number of local property rental companies, landlords, and we'll work with them to help find a place of their own. But even still, as I said, once they're a lifer, they're with us for life. We have a very active alumni group on Facebook. We're just last week went to a Flying Squirrels game all together, had a bunch of alum come back and go with us as well. So really it's a family. And when you're trying to overcome so much adversity, it's really important to have the support of the staff, but really to have the support of your peers. And we find that to be incredibly helpful. We have several houses in the East End. We don't disclose addresses just for privacy reasons. When drug dealers find out where our houses are, they tend to kind of swarm there, which we don't like. So we keep those confidential unless someone needs to go to them. But we do have several in the East End. And all of our houses are run by house managers who are graduates of the program. So again, they provide that peer support. I know I've thrown a lot of information at you. We do a lot, as you can tell. And one thing we've also started, and it's kind of a new program that we're still in the process of really fleshing out, but we know that there is a large correlation between domestic violence calls and gun violence later on in the community. I believe there's a 75% chance that within 6 months after a domestic violence call that one of the individuals will be involved in some form of gun violence. So we have started working with Richmond Police Department. They have a great program where there are 2 officers that basically took it on themselves to create this program. And they don't take regular calls, this is all they do, but a few days after a domestic violence call or intimate partner violence call, they'll go out to the house with a collection of community resources and just say, here's some resources, how can we help you? A lot of times programs are not affordable, and those that are don't really do much, quite frankly, is what we've heard. And so if they believe or they've heard that, through repeat calls that there may be something that Real Life can help with, which is quite a few of the calls, one of our folks at Real Life East will actually go out with them just to talk about the services we provide, to hopefully help provide that support to hopefully reduce domestic violence, which could eventually reduce gun violence, which would be what everyone wants. So anyways, any questions? I know that was a lot of information. We do a lot and I love it, but we keep busy.
Christian, you are right on 25th Street.
Yep, it's 1111 North 25th Street.
Okay, one.
We're actually, Urban Hope is upstairs with some other organizations, and we're downstairs.
The green building with the violin mural, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep. So
That's
we're
right.
downstairs.
Good to know that.
Yes.
We may have some prospects at the market.
Absolutely. And
They come by there and I just look at them and I said, Lord, I wish that it was some place I could recommend them to go for counseling or to get some help. So
absolutely.
have some walk-ins, because I'm going to certainly be working on that.
Absolutely. And Peggy and Irvin are there. And I'll type the phone number for Real Life East or for Real Life in general, but you can select the option for Real Life East. Peggy and Irvin are there, and they can always bring you some information. We have little cards that talk about Real Life East and the services we provide. So I'll put that in the chat, and you can always give them a call. And we have a great relationship with the market. So we're frequently, when we have events, they come out, and it's fantastic. So we love you guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Kristen, I had a few questions. One was how big how many people generally live in each house? And then the other question was, are there any volunteer opportunities for like churches and organizations?
Okay. Well, second question is quick and easy. So yes, absolutely. In fact, later this morning, I'm headed over to one of our houses. We have some volunteers putting in gardens. We have vegetable gardens at all of our houses, or most of our houses. We have one that still needs one put in. Because so many of the folks, once they move out on their own, there are so many food deserts. We want them to know how to grow fresh fruits and vegetables of their own. It's also very therapeutic for many of them to see things grow. So we have a group. I had a youth group last weekend. I had Virginia Department of Health nutrition program on Tuesday do a garden, and I have another garden today. So we have lots of opportunities. If you email me, I can send you some information. My email is in the chat, but absolutely. The number of people living in the house varies based on the house size. Some of those huge houses in North Side can hold way more people than, a smaller house in Jackson Ward, for example. So it really varies house by house. Our 2 women's houses are also smaller, just because as a woman, I can say it. you don't want to put too many women in a house together because we'll butt heads. I lived in a sorority house. I've been there. So it really varies house by house, but we house a total of right about 100 people.
Oh, that's a marvelous program.
Thank you. It's funny. So my background, I was a magistrate for about 7 years. And so I spent my entire day putting people in jail, and I hated every minute of it. I saw them at their worst. I saw them asking for help, and there was nothing I could do in my role as a magistrate. And that frustrated me beyond belief. Because as you can probably tell, I'm a helper. That's where I get my energy, is trying to make things better and provide support. And so I started doing a lot of volunteer work with different nonprofits, discovered that I had a talent for fundraising and community engagement. And so after doing a lot of volunteer work, making sure that was the career switch I definitely wanted, I switched careers, and just over a year ago came to Real Life. I had been volunteering with them all along, but just really within the past 2 years, they've grown significantly to the point where they needed a full-time person to come on, and especially, talk to civic groups like yourselves, and work with volunteers and write grants. And in fact, Urban Hope, our two organizations were, if you're familiar with Impact 100, it's a giving circle of women. And every year they do, this year they switched to two $50,000 grants. And so we were Urban Hope and our organization were the two recipients this year, which was really cool. We were excited to be in there with them. And one thing I didn't mention, so we also have our motherhood program, similar to all the same services we provide the regular lifers, but with a focus on getting moms ready for motherhood. So often many of our women have had children before, had children taken away from them. Many of I want to say it was like 75% of them have lost a child under the age of 1. So, maternal health and infant health is hugely important. And so that's something we really focus on. When Sarah was in the jail, frequently she saw women who were pregnant. They would commit a low-level offense like a shoplifting for the sole purpose of getting in jail to get medical care while pregnant, and to dry out, to get clean for the baby. And that's not acceptable. So we provide that support to make sure they're getting what they need for themselves and for baby. Any other questions?
That's a wonderful program.
Well, thank you. Well, like I said, I put my email in the chat. I'm going to type, if I can get my mouse to cooperate. There we go. I'm putting the phone number in here as well. And you can always call that number. It will go to voicemail because we aren't all in the office right now. Everything gets routed. So if you call that number, and there should be an option for Real Life East, or Peggy and Irvin are their names. Give them a call, leave them a message, let them know you spoke with me. And we'll make sure that we can run some of those postcards over to you, Mrs. T.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Christian, just shoot me an email, and we'll we have a whole list of different opportunities, things like those welcome kits I mentioned. A lot of youth groups in particular like putting those together. And it's just a simple, little dollar store laundry basket with shampoo and brush and a journal, just the basic necessities, because most of the time people are coming with literally just the clothes on their back. So it's nice for them to feel welcomed. That goes a long way.
Cool.
Yeah, I just want to name, I'm really grateful for the work that y'all are doing. It's great having your 25th Street location for walk-ins, because like Ms. T just demonstrated, our community is interesting, right? Because we can simultaneously have a house listed for $499,000 right over here. and also neighbors that don't know where they're going to sleep tonight.
Right.
That's right.
And so knowing what's available to be able to say, hey, that the green building with the violin, go right over there, 1111 25th, like
Yeah.
gives access to resources that otherwise might be hard for people to know where they are. It's hard for
Right.
us to know
Exactly.
where they are, what they are. But I like to, I've had a few interactions with real life. And one thing that I've noticed is the people that I've interacted, you included, this does not seem like just a job.
No.
It seems like this is, you care.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly important because the folks that you're interacting with are also the folks that most people tend to write off, tend to assume things about, tend to like just characterize as bad. But you gave an example of like, there are women who make decisions that the world would just write off as bad, but they're making it because they're like, how can I make sure my baby is born healthy, right? Like, and so when somebody comes out of prison, or when someone's wrestling with addiction, or when somebody's homeless, there may be a myriad of reasons why they're in that situation, but it doesn't change the fact that it's already hard for most people to find housing, much less if you add all that to that. So I'm really grateful that y'all are providing housing, affordable housing, like actually affordable housing to 100 people right now. And I know you have to go, but is there any other way, for us as New Visions, for us as just neighbors in the community, is there anything else that you want us to know, or any other ways that we can support the work y'all are doing?
Poetry, yeah.
So I will send you, Paul, and maybe you can send it out to the group. Some of the links for different volunteer opportunities, as well as somewhere you can sign up to get our email updates. So when we have new volunteer opportunities come up, or new programs, new houses, that kind of thing, we always love to share that information. We're also on Facebook, so you can follow us there. I manage it, so you'll see lots of pictures that I've taken. But I'll just leave you with this. It kind of ties in with what you just said, Paul. Sheriff Woody is on our board, and one of the things he loves to say two things. One, but for one wrong decision, nothing separates us from the folks in jail. Most of us have done, who hasn't sped or done something wrong and you just weren't caught? That's the difference. And two, 90% of people that are in prisons are going to be released someday. And do you want better criminals, or do you want better neighbors? And that's what we're trying to do, is make better neighbors. And it is truly a passion. It's not a job for me. Hence, being going to work Saturday morning. I love what I do, and I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to make a difference. And I just got a message in terms of accepting clothes and shoes. At the moment, our clothes closet is full, which is a good thing. A lot of people during quarantine did closet clean outs. But I would refer you to the Clothes Rack, which is the Junior League's thrift store. Anytime there's something specific that we need that we don't have. So for example, an odd size, some, really tall gentleman needs really long pants or something like that. We go to the Clothes Rack. The Junior League is also one of our community partners. They're starting a program working with our motherhood ladies. So the funds raised through Clothes Rack indirectly will help real life as well. So any clothing or shoes, I'd suggest donating them there. Because like I said, they would ultimately it does benefit us in different ways. But other donations, always feel free. My email's in there. Shoot me an email. I have a number of people that will send me Facebook messages as well. You can Facebook message Real Life. It comes to me with pictures. Hey, do you need this coffee table? Do you need this? And I'm always happy to respond quickly. And we're grateful for all of the support.
Okay.
Okay.
Christian, before you go,
Yes, ma'am.
one other question, not
Yes.
a question, just comment. As we speak, I know well, she has served time and of course she's out now. And this individual, as we speak, is homeless. And last time I talked with her last week, she is living in a whole, she has gone from hotel to hotel.
Mm.
So I'm going to give her the information and tell her to reach out to Real Life East and see if it's anything that they can work in her behalf.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll also put in the chat. So I don't work at all with the admissions, just because I don't have the knowledge base, quite frankly. I mean, Sarah has her doctorate. Anyone that comes in the program, she interviews. It's funny, during COVID, she's like, I never realized how much I loved going to jail, but I loved going to jail. Because she loved getting to work with the folks there and she misses that. But Sarah handles all of the admissions and that kind of thing. So I would suggest, and for some reason my mouse is frozen, but I'll just tell you it's info@reallifeprogram.org.
Info.
At reallifeprogram.org. And that would be, if someone's interested in coming into our program, that would be the email address. It goes to both Sarah and our deputy director, and that way we make sure we get a quick response, that kind of thing.
All right, okay. I basically wanted her to maybe do a walk-in on 25th Street, just to get some information.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yep, so still call, because like I said, there are certain hours, and there's also certain hours Peggy and Irvin are teaching classes. And I'd hate for her to walk in the middle of that and not be able to talk to somebody.
Well, she can call.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, just call and find out when would be a good time to come in and talk. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Anything else?
That's it. I just feel that God will answer my prayer, because I've been trying to get something for
Oh,
this lady for over a year. And
oh my goodness.
it breaks my heart when she calls me and tell. I said, "Are you still living where you?" She said, "No, just for a short time, Miss T, but I'm living in a hotel now."
It's very tough. If you have that criminal record, finding housing can be very difficult.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Thank you, Christian. This is
wonderful.
a joy this morning.
Well, I've enjoyed chatting with y'all. And like I said, there's my email. Paul, I will send you some info as well. Perhaps you wouldn't mind sending it out to the group. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, same to you.
So what I'll do is when I get that from her, I'll send that and the link to this this gathering so that everyone has it. But yeah, definitely check it out. And I wanted to make sure that y'all had access because, again, like Ms. T noted, I mean, we have neighbors that walk by our porches every day that could benefit from a lot of what they are offering, for free. Like she said, it's a nonprofit, so it's not like they're profiting off this. Like they're trying to kind of fill these gaps. Speaking of filling gaps, I put this in a recent email and I just wanted to mention it again. And Christian, I haven't read your email, but I glanced at it. But Jobs for Life, Jobs RVA, they run a jobs equipping training program, and they've been wanting to come in the East End for a while. And so I've been working alongside Ajay Blue Saunders, who runs Jobs RVA, and connected her with Burdens Lifted, which is the church at 20th and Q Street, right down the street from me. And they're the one that has the giant garden behind the church. So they've worked out to start a class in October. So I wanted to make sure y'all know, one, because that's just a good thing to know about, especially if you have neighbors that could benefit from some jobs training, jobs equipping. But one of the big things they do is they're very relational as well. And so it's not just about the program, but they have a volunteer opportunity called a champion, which is basically each student is paired with somebody else who just walks with them through the program and encourages them, supports them. If the person's like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, they're like, nah, just keep on going. We're just a couple more classes left, right? Like that kind of thing. But it's that relational piece that really has more of a profound impact than the best of curriculums. Because I mean, that's what we've all experienced in our lives, is relationships we have are often the things that help us to keep on going. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, or interested in volunteering in any kind of way, there are many different volunteer opportunities. Just reach out to me and I'll get you connected. But that, again, will start at Burdens Lifted 20th and Q in October. I think it's going to be 2 nights a week that they'll probably do it. But that information is coming about. And the second thing I want to mention, just to kind of keep you all up to date on things that are happening, but most of you probably know, but there was, I would say the end of July, there was a homicide here at 19th and R Street.
Yeah.
And so it was, I believe, like a 31-year-old male, and they've arrested a 17-year-old. Yeah, it was, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 shots. And when the police arrived, they arrived quick. Was right by our house. So I was among the first on the scene, but by the time I walked out there, the police were already there and the guy had already passed away. So, these are, Kristen mentioned it, gun violence is still something that is a hefty thing that our community is navigating. I woke up this morning to gunshots on Coulter Street, and there was a shooting up there just at 6 a.m. And so, we've had conversations about this, as some will continue to have conversations about. But yeah, I think Kristen made a good point that, we'll hit this topic at the tail end of it often, but there's a lot that happens on the front end. She mentioned specifically the correlation between domestic violence calls, and then there's gun violence, a short span after. And so that's why, entities like Real Life, entities like Urban Hope, entities like New Visions are important, because those entities and us as neighbors and individuals can begin engaging in those earlier parts of it, so that those later parts, like a shooting, don't have to happen. So yeah, our opportunity as New Visions is to continue to find ways to step into those spaces, in whatever way that means, whether it's conversations to get everyone having a deeper understanding, to learning ways that we can, like Christian mentioned, how can we volunteer, real life, and to actually finding more substantial ways to step up, like Rick and the Unity Park. Part of that is creating spaces for community building is a really important thing. And particularly the location of that is so important, because Coulter Street is right at the hill from where Unity Park is going to be. So all of this stuff is really important. It all comes together, and it'll end up hitting those really hard spaces that can be hard to know how to navigate. So in these last few minutes, anything else anyone else had to share? Christian, I see that hand.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Unity Park before. Can you just kind of give a quick summary of what that is?
Yeah, so the short version of it is, years ago, Rick saw this empty space behind MLK Middle School, and he saw that it really wasn't being utilized. It's a large field. It has a couple baseball fields, had a basketball court, had a track, but MLK doesn't really use it a lot. No one seemed to use it a lot. He didn't know, is it the Richmond Public Schools that owns it? Is the city of Richmond? The funny thing is those entities didn't even know who owned it. Is it Parks and Rec? And so one of the things, I'd hinted at, that there's a lot that's happened in the past year. One of those things is that they've actually tracked down who owns that, and what that means for it. But Rick has had some dreams for how that space can actually be utilized well in such a way that it blesses the community. Its location behind MLK Middle, MLK Preschool, and the MLK Bridge really put it on his heart to tap into this idea of unity, to tap into the idea that, I have a dream speech where, how can a space like this actually be a way to bring about community unity? He has had a lot of obstacles, and it's been a long, long journey that seemed like it was going nowhere. But as of right now, they've actually got some traction and are moving forward. And so the idea is that that space behind MLK Middle would become another park space. And, we have a lot of parks in the Churchill area that have their different benefits and so forth. one of the benefits to this space is it's kind of isolated, which is why nobody touches it. But that becomes a really valuable resource because it's, Lux Field has great things about it, but it feels busy and
Wide
it's going to
open.
feel quiet, wide open. There's
Yeah.
actually going to be elements of creating spaces for kind of solitude, meditation, whatever you need. So anyways,
Okay.
I could get more in the weeds. What I
Yeah,
would instead say is next Saturday,
Yeah.
10 to 3, going out, because it's one thing to hear it. It's another thing for Rick to actually be able to point and say, check this out. And there's actually, I won't even tell you what it is, but there's one cool element on the back end in the woods that I didn't even know existed, that when he showed it to me, I was like, well, this is really cool. I didn't know this was here. So that's your little teaser.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
come and
excited.
see.
I'm excited about it. The more I learn about it, the more I'm like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is actually going to
wonderful.
be really good.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
All right, for your information, Miss Kate Key, one of our members, she has had some problems with health problems, and she has lost both of her legs.
Oh no.
So she has finally, I've been keeping up with her daughter and and that Reuben as he walks the street. When was the mother coming home? So she's finally returned home. And I just want to give you all the address and the phone number. Right now, I know people are not visiting, but at least you can call the individual. You don't have to worry about COVID on the telephone. And Miss Kate Key number is 716-0024. And so maybe we can send her a card shower. Let me see, her address is 1006 North 21st Street. And I know it probably got to be, seclusion and loneliness and everything. So I think we just need to do something to help give her some real hope. And I just can't imagine me losing my leg, that. So we have to just reach out to these people. So you got the address and the numbers, right?
And I put him in the chat as well.
All right. And that's Kate Key. And so we need to just call if no one said, we just heard about you, you were at home, and how you doing now? Anything that we can help you and your husband, because he is sick also. And he came around to the market to get his vaccine. And I talked to him then, and he told me his wife was in the rehab center, because I didn't know she had lost her legs at that time. Mhm.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Mhm.
Anything else before we go?
So Frida said she was going to try to get on at the end.
She was going to try. What I would say is an email I sent a couple weeks ago has the information, the letter that she wrote to New Visions.
Yeah.
It has her contact information. So yeah, if you'd like to ask her any questions or learn a little more, you can, I would say, just reach out directly to her. She is more than happy to share. It's something she's been working on for years. And so
I think it's a wonderful idea. Sonny, unmute. Unmute, baby.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, sweetie. I was in the 7th district last meeting, and the subject about Carrington Street came up again. And I know what's the fella that works in that department?
Travis?
No, it's not Danny. No, I can't.
Travis?
No, it's not Travis.
Oh.
I knew the man's name. Well, the COVID has done a lot of things to me that I can't remember nothing. Well, anyway, he went on to give a report, and he said that because of the funds and the enormous amount that it would take, that they are looking into maintaining the cobblestones in the intersection of Carrington Street, but they
Yeah.
want to blacktop the rest of it. And I wanted to say something to him then that no, please don't do that. But you know, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of fighting right now, Sonny. But that's a historical street, and that's a historical aspect of that corridor. As old as I am, and I'm 84 years old, and that street has been there. And now they want to blacktop that street and maintain just the cobblestone in the intersection.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody wants the cobblestone to stay. But the problem that we're dealing with, which you know very well, you've been here longer than I have,
Mhm.
but I've received pictures from people where they basically don't repair the cobblestone. There's pictures from back in the 80s and 70s where they patched it
Yeah,
with asphalt, and
that's
they
right.
still have yet to put the cobblestone back in. And now we're looking at something that was done 40 years ago. And so as the conversation goes on over the past 2 years, it's been, well, we want a pretty street. We want cobblestone to be pretty, and we want it updated and regularly maintained. And their response has been, it's too expensive.
Expensive, yeah.
So now we haven't really even had that deep of a conversation, but they've come back and said, well, we'll maintain the intersections and we'll pave over the streets. And my reaction is, well, usually at the intersections, there's not any construction work when there's new builds, like new houses coming in. So there won't need to be cobblestone ripped out in the future and then paved over, rather than the cobblestone being put back in. So when it is restored at the intersections, it'll be pretty for a long time. And
Yeah.
then the compromise is that it's asphalt everywhere else. But when at least the road will be smooth, and when there's new builds that come in, it'll be asphalt on asphalt rather than potholes and asphalt on cobblestone.
Yeah, but it won't be beautiful. It will not be pretty.
Yeah, well,
just
right
can't-
I don't
can't
think,
even
I agree
think.
with you. I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think it's not pretty right now.
No,
It's been this way for a long time. When I saw those pictures and then I walked over there, it's actually in front of Dave's house where this work was done 40 years ago. And it's the same looks exactly the same. They just haven't been maintaining the cobblestone, and I don't know how to get them to do that.
I know.
Well, one thing, I reached out to Travis with that department, and then he just very briefly sent me to someone else. There wasn't much conversation. But what I'm trying to do is see if I can get somebody to come to a New Visions gathering, so that we can have this conversation. But yeah, I mean, this is the reality. Like what you were saying, Sonny, is on one hand, we know, and Miss T knows more than most of us, like what it could be. And in some ways you can almost say like what it should be if we're trying to say this is a historic neighborhood, retaining the cobblestone is important. And then, like you're saying, Sonny, the other part is the really annoying reality of, one, it takes money for that to happen. And then two, people are holding tight to that money. and money getting to the places it needs is a painful process. And so it leaves you in this space of, how long and how hard do you fight for this? At what point do you say, well, if we could accept this or get stuck with this? And it's just this really hard place. So I think having somebody come in where they can actually hear all of this being spoken out, and actually have to respond in live time. I don't know how much it will move the needle, but it couldn't make the needle any worse. So
Yeah.
I'll keep on working on that.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot, there's a lot has been invested for years in trying to get something done. And the reality is that our community is often, for many reasons and never good ones, often forgotten. You know, so
And you
well,
know,
I'll
when
see what we can do.
New Vision first started and we were working with Better Housing Coalition. And of course, we had addressed Carrington Street, even in all of that blightness. And the vision was, as you travel east across the bridge and come off of the bridge, Martin Luther King Bridge, and come into Carrington Street, we had always envisioned that as being a quaint little place to live. It would be something very special. I call it Georgetown. And that we had even talked about the possibility of having gas lights along the street, because we were just trying to preserve that area from Mosby Street all the way to 25th Street along Carrington Street. So it really just breaks my heart to see them not be able to bring it up to what we would want it to be. Because like I said, I have walked that street many, many days, traveling from 29th Street all the way over here to the carnival that was on 20th Street. And so it has a lot of meaning for me. And I know we got to move on with time, but there are some things that we can really take from the past and treasure those things, because I feel that Church Hill, to some extent, has been built on that foundation. And new people coming in, well, they don't understand what the history of it is. And so I guess they just want to do a quick fix.
Yeah.
But it breaks my heart.
Well, and I'm going to just add another point too. We've been talking, or I've been talking with the city for going on 5 years now.
I know that.
And it hasn't really been a conversation.
Mhm.
It's been me giving them as much information as I can to help them do a great job, providing them feedback with what the community wants, and it's just been silence. And I was at that 7 district meeting, and the fact that they're even doing any repairs was it came out of nowhere, because a month ago we heard that they were talking about putting money into the budget to maybe get approved for next year. So I don't even know how the money got there in the first place to do the repairs that they want to do. And I'm very sad that we have never had an upfront conversation with them where we could come up with a plan, because we know that cobblestone, it costs money to maintain, not only to restore, but then to maintain. And so if the street was going to stay cobblestone completely, we would need funding in place each year to maintain it when there's new builds, or when new construction comes in, that they have to then fix the road when they add water lines and electrical and things like that. But we haven't even been able to have that conversation with the city yet. Yeah.
So I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
But
Well,
I noticed around there, I think it is on N Street. I don't know what block that is. One block before you turn into 25th Street. I think they have done some work around there on cobblestone. And I looked at that, I said, now they done took this a small section and fixed this up. I don't know why they can't go ahead and conquer around there on Carrington Street. If you all get a chance to get in that direction, go by there and check it.
Okay.
They have replaced some cobblestone on that street. I just don't know.
yeah.
Miss T is so tired of, I'm so tired of work. I just want everything to look really nice. I really want to see the church here in our area. It has come alive quite a bit, and I'm very appreciative of that. But there is yet more.
Mhm.
other than these $400,000 homes that can't nobody buy. I'm just perturbed.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and I think you made a good point that, like, at the end of the day, the city, they're not often seeing Carrington Street. They're not driving on. They don't let. So
No, they don't
their
do that.
vested interest is at base level is what do we need to do and how can we do it affordably? And that's not a bad thing. That's just a objective thing. And so part of what we have to do is find a way to really sell why this is not just beneficial to us but to the city. And I think you made a good point that really is an entry point. You're coming off of the MLK Bridge. That's the first thing you see. And having an intentional historic street in the midst of a quickly changing community could actually be a real asset to Richmond. So, what I'll do is I'll keep moving forward on trying to get somebody to come. If I can do that, I'll also invite Cynthia Newbill. And then, we'll want to make sure we have a good presence if that meeting comes together. But hopefully we can at least get our voices heard so that, like Sunny noted, it's not just, one-way communication, but there is at least one moment where it's like, all right, we saw that they were moving their heads while I was talking, and then they responded back immediately. This is better than what it has been. So, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close this up.
Bring us up to date with the houses over there that's going to be constructed across the street from you on
Oh, yeah.
our street.
There's not much to add, but they have done the water line work, and they've tore up the street for a while and put that up. The land has been leveled out, and so my guess is, they had originally hoped to have this done years ago, and then a year ago, and then the spring. They had hoped to have it done by November. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So my guess is they'll start construction soon, but over the last couple of weeks there hasn't been much movement. But my understanding is everything that needed to be in place is in place now. And so I think it's just gonna, at some point it's gonna, and then they'll really start going. So maybe early 2022, those homes. And as I understand it, most of those, maybe even 4 are under contract. There is a 5th one that through city funds is actually affordable. Definitely more affordable. Due to rising prices during the pandemic, I think the other ones are between like 240 and 260. I could be wrong on that, which is still more affordable than a lot of what's in the area, but still out of the reach for a lot of people. But they're going to have one unit that's going to be income based. That'll be like in the 180s, which is a really, that's just unheard of to get a nice house in the 180s in our area. Just can't find that anymore. So, yeah, I'll continue to keep y'all updated on that. But yeah, it should be moving before too long.
Thank you, Paul. You're doing a good job. You're really
Thank you,
doing a
Miss
good
T.
job.
Following your lead. You led the way.
Thing that I've done along the way that is being appreciative.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And I appreciate y'all for holding on and holding out. And Miss T gonna be with y'all as long as she can. I can't do much, but I'm gonna be there to encourage you. You're doing a great job.
We appreciate it.
And thank you, Sonny. So you in town for how long? Sonny?
Me, I'm not in town right now. I'm remoting in. So
yeah, I should be in a vehicle. Okay, then. Well, good seeing you. Good seeing you, Rita.
Good seeing you.
And good seeing you, Christian. Well, Christian comes around to the store occasionally and see me. So I see him quite often. And his 2 little boys just growing up to be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at that store all the time.
Yeah. And Becca, I see Becca anytime too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a blessing to be with y'all this morning.
Likewise, I appreciate all y'all coming in. And like I said, I'll send this out within the week.
All right, then.
All right, y'all have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right.